Season of Discovery Phase 4 is finally here, and we're into the Molten Core. Let's have a look at how we are going to win and survive as a Enhancement Shaman DPS. Starting off with looking at the stat priority, the first thing you are going to want is to hit your hit caps, funnily enough. That is going to be 9%. This is because at level 60 in Molten Core, the bosses are 3 levels above you, and this is what is needed to hit them at the cap. Now, I will say we are actually going to cover off where we can cover off our hit caps later in this video. So you don't actually need to worry about it at all as an Enhancement Shaman. Not getting it from your gear at least, or any other sources that won't already be on your character. Number 2 is going to be Strength. Now, strength actually purely equals to attack power per 1 strength, meaning that 30 strength is double the value of 30 attack power. Hence why at number 3, we have attack power. However, if you do have 60 attack power on an item and only 20 strength, then the attack power will actually be more beneficial. Imagine again that strength is worth double the amount of 1 attack power. Then we have agility at number 4. This is actually like a really complex one, but putting it simply, it's going to give you a little bit of attack power, a little bit of dodge, a little bit of armor, and a little bit of crit as well. Lastly, then we have intellect, which basically is just going to give you some more mana to DPS with. Of course, we don't want to underestimate the power of things like stamina, but these are more your offensive stat priorities. Now moving on to the talents, this here is the build I recommend for Enhancement DPS at level 60. I'm not going to go through all of these individual talents at a granular detail. If you are still leveling up and you want to know exactly what paths to take, check out my channel because I do have all videos and playlists for the earlier phases at level 25, 40 and 50 and leveling guides there too. But I will be showing you some of the really important ones and why we're taking them. First up, we have Ancestral Knowledge, increasing your maximum mana by 5%. This will also help with one of the runes we will be using. We're then taking the improved Ghost Wolf form, meaning we can reduce the cast time of it. And one thing to note here is that we are actually taking the Greater Ghost Wolf rune as well, so that we can use it indoors and it'll actually reduce our damage taken, meaning this talent is even better than it would have been before on its own. Thundering Strikes here, increasing crit and flurry, increasing your attack speed after your crits, a fantastic DPS increases for you. Enhancing Totems does what it says, it enhances your totems, another great benefit. And then Storm Strike here at the bottom of the tree is a fantastic extra ability we gain that we can actually use with our Maelstrom weapon rune for an increase in DPS. There are a few other talents we're going to be putting over into the elemental tree, however, once we've reached the bottom of enhancement. Concussion, giving a flat-out DPS increase to some of our spells. Call of Flame, increasing our fire totem damage. We're going to be using this in both single target and also AoE, especially in AoE. Call of Thunder increases the crit on some of our lightning spells. And Elemental Devastation means that our spell crits give us a chance for melee crits. Looking at the runes we are taking then, starting off with Mental Dexterity on the head rune. This is a fantastic passive that can really increase our potency in battle. Dealing damage of Lava Lash or Storm Strike increases your attack power by 65% of your intellect, and your spell damage by 20% of your total attack power by 30 seconds. Another one on the wrist rune is going to be Rolling Thunder, where Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a 50% chance to add an additional charge to your active Lightning Shield, up to 9 charges. Earthshock now releases all of those Lightning Shield charges above 3 specifically, so you don't have to reapply it basically, dealing their damage to the target and energizing you for some of the maximum mana per charge released. This is a fantastic way of getting us to use our Lightning Shield, and we are also, by the way, using Improved Lightning Shield here, increases the damage done by those orbs by 15%. Another fantastic passive where we can just be using the tools that we already have, or making them more efficient. Whereas before, if you weren't getting attacked, wouldn't really be using Lightning Shield. Then another passive we have is Dual Wield Specialization here. This is phenomenal, okay? This is basically clearing off your hit rating. It's also giving you a massive damage increase. Let's have a look at it. Increases the chance of your hit with both spells and attacks by 5% when dual wielding. And your Storm Strike ability, that's the one we got at the end of the enhancement talent tree, now hits with both weapons while dual wielding. It also increases the damage of your offhand weapon by 50%. Lastly, on the top row, we have the hand rune, which is Lava Lash. This is a really cheap way of getting a big amount of extra damage into the rotation on a really short cooldown. You charge your offhand weapon with lava, instantly dealing 100% offhand weapon damage. Damage is increased by 125 if your offhand weapon is enchanted with Flame Tongue. That is an enchantment that you do have as a shaman and you will be obviously using on your offhand. On the waist rune, we've got Maelstrom Weapon here. This is fantastic and can even give you an emergency heal if needed. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you have a chance to reduce the cast time and mana cost of your next lightning bolt, chain lightning, lesser healing wave, or lava burst by 20%. The chance is increased by 50%, while your main hand weapon is enchanted with Wind Fury. So Wind Fury on the main hand, Flame Tongue on the offhand. It's fairly self-explanatory on those two. And another 50% if wielding a two-handed weapon. Stacks up to 5 times and lasts 30 seconds. Greater Ghost Wolf, again, I've already spoken about when we spoke about the improved Ghost Wolf talent. Spirit of the Alpha, another great one, infuses you should put this on somebody else, by the way. Infuses the target with the Spirit of the Alpha Wolf, increasing all threat generated by the target by 45% for 30 minutes. You could put this on a tank. Limit to 1 target. If cast on a target other than yourself, the shaman, so you, also gain Loyal Beta, increasing physical damage done by 5% and reducing all threat generated by you for 30 minutes. So you basically put Alpha on a tank, and then you get the Beta, so it's a mutually beneficial buff. Feral Spirit, where you summon 2 Spirit Wolves. We're going to be using this pretty much on cooldown and at the start of the fight for an extra DPS increase. And then interestingly now, on the rings with the specializations we get, I'm going for Nature on 1 ring. So this again is helping with your like hit chance, etc. Chance to hit with nature spells increased by 6%. So this helps with your spell hit. And then I like to go for the axe specialization on the other one. You can also go for fire. You may, for example, have a weapon or an item that is increasing your skill with axes, and therefore going for the fire specialization for your fire spells could be a better alternative. But this is going to depend on what gear you have available to you. Now, looking at the actual rotation we're going to do, we're starting with a single target here. Remember, we're going to be putting Flame Tongue and Wind Fury on our offhand and main weapon. You're going to go in and precast Feral Spirit. Do this like as the tank pulls, etc., just to make sure we're not wasting any time or valuable global cooldowns when we go into combat. Then we want to make sure we've got Spirit of the Alpha up, obviously on the tank to benefit them and us. Any group buffing totems that you may have, and depending on which ones you're using, you may want to liaise with your raid leader or your team that you are with. And keep your Searing Totem active. This is your main fire totem. Remember, we are getting an increase of damage on these from the elemental talents we took. Keep your Shamanistic Rage on cooldown. Remember, this is now a baseline spell in your arsenal. It's no longer on the rune slots. If you can't remember or don't know what Shamanistic Rage does, you basically are going to generate mana every second for 15 seconds when you activate it. And you're also going to have a reduction to damage you take by 20%. On top of that, your party and raid members will also receive a little bit of the mana that you're regenerating as well. So we just want to completely keep this on cooldown, keep that mana rolling, and obviously keep the damage we're receiving down as much as possible as well. Then we're going to use our Lightning Shield and pretty much keeping this up at all times. Remember, when you use your Earth Shock, this is actually going to use any of the extra charges that you're generating on there down to a minimum of 3. And then we can use Lightning Bolt. Oh, sorry, I've missed one off. Use your Storm Strike on cooldown after that. And preferably while the Storm Strike debuff is up on your target, we're going to use Lightning Bolt, but only when we're near 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon. Maelstrom Weapon, remember, is one of the runes we're adding, and this is going to be generating stacks as we're playing. So try and get the Storm Strike debuff up on the target, and then use your Lightning Bolt in synergy with that when close to 5 Maelstrom stacks. If you're not there right now, let's say you've only got 1 stack, then we're going to be alternating between Flame Shock and Earth Shock, doing damage of Flame Shock, doing damage of Earth Shock, but also using up those Lightning Shield charges passively when we use our Earth Shock. After that, we're just going to use our Lava Lash pretty much on cooldown. Just to reiterate then, pre-cast or cast when you go into combat and use on cooldown your Feral Spirits, make sure to get Spirit of the Alpha up on the tank that needs aggro. Keep your ground group buffing totems up and keep that Searing Totem up for DPS. Shamanistic Rage for damage reduction and mana gain for everybody, including yourself. Keep that on cooldown. Keep your Lightning Shield up. Remember, again, it's going to be used with Rolling Thunder by your Earth Shock. That's going to be using up those charges. Use Storm Strike on cooldown. Remember, Storm Strike gives you an extra attack, and your next 2 nature damage sources dealt to that target will be increased by 20%. Hence why then we want to use Lightning Bolt at its most powerful when closest to 5 Maelstrom stacks. Imagine we use it at 1. So remember, Lightning Bolt is going to be enhanced because of the Storm Strike debuff, increasing damage done to the target. So imagine if you use Lightning Bolt only 1 Maelstrom stack. It's not going to be as powerful, and it's not going to benefit as much from that 20% increase in damage. Whereas if you use it closer to 5 stacks, obviously it's going to be even more powerful and synergize together well with Storm Strike. After that, remember, alternating with Flame Shock and Earth Shock, and then use Lava Lash on cooldown. And that is it for the single target rotation. If you're wondering about the AoE rotation, well, it's very simple. You can pretty much use your Fire, Nova, and Magma Totem for big AoE damage, and then once those totems are up, you can pretty much use Chain Lightning and use that with your Maelstrom stacks instead, as long as there's enough targets, of course. And that's really pretty much it for how that's going to go. Now, if you do have any other questions regarding Enhancement Shaman DPS and you're not sure, or maybe you just want some one-on-one help, or want to get some extra resources, etc., then do consider joining my Patreon. You can DM me one-on-one over there, and I can help you out with any queries you may have. It also unlocks a VIP channel in the Discord where we have a ton of class experts that can also help you there too, as well as getting things like Excel spreadsheets, other WoW behind-the-scenes videos and guides, and also LVI profiles if that's your thing. If, however, you are just looking for a different class guide, I have done all of them for this phase, and you can get them in this playlist here.